Good evening, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Monster Territory, brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. I don't know how to feel after this series win. You should feel pretty good. You should be feeling all right. You got the series W. Nothing can bother me. But why am I feeling so bothered right now? First couple of games, hey, solid stuff. Pretty solid pitching, getting timely offense, tons of runs on the board in the first game. Willard stepping up here in game 2 earlier today. And then tonight, it's back to the same old thing, the same old song and dance, the same old mistakes, errors, base running mistakes, runners in scoring position left behind. You're always reverting to these problems. It's a constant thing. It's been a tug of war all year. And when is it going to end? When? And here's the thing. I know I might sound like, oh, Robbie, come on. They got the Series W. You're not going to have, a perfect game every single time. But you know what? When it happens all year, and when it just keeps going, and going, and going, and going some more, it gets frustrating. And I even tweeted out during the game, enough is enough, basically. When are we going to start relying more on fundamentals and baseball IQ? And that's coming from me with the potato brain. There comes a point where, listen, exit velo's great, athleticism's great, but you gotta have the fundamentals and the baseball IQ as well. It keeps happening. And it's worrisome, and I get it. You got the AllStar Break here. Maybe that'll be, the best thing for this team. Maybe, a few days away. Maybe that's going to be the best remedy for this team in the second half. But will it be? Are they going to start cleaning this up? Are they, listen, and again, I'd love to have a sweep. I really would. And I'd love to have a series win any series of the year. I mean, hey, series wins are great. That's what you aim for. Sweeps are luxury at the end of the day. But when you lose a sweep, when you had one in the palm of your hands, and you lose one because of the same old mistakes that keep biting you in the butt, that's when it's frustrating. If you lose a hard-fought game, right, the other team, they just come out on top in the end, right? You tip the cap and you're like, all right, you know what? Hey, we could have had that sweep, but it is what it is. Hey, they played just a little bit better. But when you beat yourself, that is when it's so frustrating. And, we even saw today as well. Hey, hate to get on to Alex Cora here a little bit. What was going on with his bullpen tonight? What was going on with the bullpen management? How many times are we going to keep putting Greg Weisser out there when it's very clear over the last how many or so outings for him that he's probably starting to wear down a little bit. You're starting to see some signs of cracking in the armor. And you just got a guy in Jordan Hicks who looked great in his debut the other night. Why wasn't Jordan Hicks in the game earlier in this one? Where was Garrett Whitlock tonight? What are we doing? I don't get it. I don't know. I don't mean to sound frustrated because, again, it was a series win, so I'm not going to complain about that, but it's just losing the same way every single time. And I can't keep doing this. My poor potato brain can't handle this too much longer, man. But it is what it is. The show has to go on no matter how frustrated I might be, no matter how broken my brain might be. But you did win game 1 today. Let's go over that really quick before we get into tonight's game. Again, it took a little while, right? A lot of rain coming into Fenway Park last night. It was funny because I was watching the game, and I was also working on stuff for the main channel as well. That's a normal routine of mine. I'm watching the game, plugged in, but also, trying to get some things done for other videos. I just posted a video today if anyone wants to go watch that. But so I'm watching the game last night, and all of a sudden I'm on MLB TV, they have this the rain delay sounds or whatever. It's not on like a commercial. It's just these sounds, and you hear they play this constant sound of the crowd, right, cheering and whatever else. And I'm listening to it for so long, and I'm like, I just realized the game was in a weather delay, was in a rain delay for so long. And I'm thinking the entire time, like Dave O'Brien just stopped talking or something. And I was like, oh, they're in a rain delay. I didn't even notice it. Goodness gracious. But anyway, yeah, a lot of rain, a lot of lightning. I figured once I saw, people posting pictures of lightning at Fenway Park, and I looked at the radar, I'm like, yep, I don't think they're going to get this game in. There was an hour, I think it was showing that maybe around like 11 o'clock, you could have had a little bit of time to, get it in, but then you're going to have more rain around like midnight or so. So I figured the game was going to get called, and then they got it in today. So they won that one 5-3 for the offense today. Last night, Roman got it started. Nice to see Roman keeping it on going here. Had the RBI base hit in the first inning. Carlos Narvaez with a couple of RBIs. He tied it up in the sixth inning. And then Willard Abrau. This guy's been red hot as of late. Had the go-ahead base hit in the eighth. He went 2 for 3 with an RBI in that one. Let me pull up here Willard Abrau's numbers over the last 15 and 30 games. The numbers are looking great with him. Over the last 30 games, he has a 479 slugging, but he's really gotten hot over the last couple of weeks, hitting 304, a 609 on the slugging. In his last 7 games, he's got 4 homers with an 808 slugging. Willard Abrau, red hot as of late, and it just makes me wonder, getting closer to the trade deadline, who are they going to hang on to if they decide to move an outfielder, if that's the way they end up going? Is it going to be Durant? Is it going to be Willard? I mean, the way Willard's been looking here, especially with the power upside that he has and the ability that he has playing in right field, man, it's kind of hard to argue trading Willard at this point. We'll get to that in a little bit. Jim Bowden did come out with an article on The Athletic when it comes to, things he was hearing about the trade deadline. You kind of have to take Jim Bowden with a pinch of salt. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but we'll dive into that one. He had some Red Sox players in there as well. But Willard, red hot as of late. When it came to the pitching, right, you had Richard Fitz start last night. He took the first 3 innings, gave up a run, and then Brian Bayo, he got the start there today. They decided to go with the bullpen game tonight. He went 5 innings, 1 hit, 2 earned, gave up a home run there to Spencer Steer in the 4th inning. But overall, Brian Bayo looking pretty solid here. A lot of weak contact, a lot of sinkers on the day, ground balls. So Brian Bayo looking very steady here today against the Reds. Chapman, a 12-pitch, 9th inning, got his 15th save. So, hey, you're feeling pretty good. You score a ton of runs in the first game. Willard Abrau making some history, inside the park home run and a grand slam. So, actually, after that stream, I saw there were more tweets coming out. Credit to all of these people out there that know how to dig into these stats. It's pretty crazy. So, ended up being... I'm going so blank on who posted this. I am so sorry because I always want to give credit. I believe her name is Sarah. I'm going blank on the last name. Chat, if you can help me out with that, I would love you forever. But she posted that it had happened, I believe, 4 or 5 times prior, but it had been a long time. The last time it had happened was Roger Maris, right? So that's how long it was. And then you had a few guys going back all the way to the late 1800s that pulled it off. Right? Sarah Lang. Thank you, Caden. I was going so blank on the last name. So, yes, Willard Abrau making history. But you're feeling good after that one. And then today, right, took a little while. Took a very long rain delay, but you got it done. Timely hitting. Good pitching. Nice clean win. But then game 2 came around here. Game 2 came around. Before we do get to game 2, though, we do have to go over tonight's sponsor. I'll be right back.
Building a hair growth routine is easy only if you go with Nutrafol. Why is that, Todd Father?
Nutrafol, you think about hair. For me, sometimes the hair gets thinning. This thing will thicken your hair up as much as you need. You think about going to weddings, you're going to the beach, you're just hanging out with friends, and you want to take photos. You want your hair to look good, and this is the best possibility for it.
Yeah, and thinning hair is different for men and women. So a one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth, that's not it, okay? They have multiple formulas for men and for women that are tailored to fit different stages of life, okay? So go check out Nutrafol. Building a hair growth routine can be easy, and you order online. There's no prescription needed as well. Free shipping, automated deliveries, and for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering the FT fam $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code FOUL, F-O-U-L. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FOUL.
All right, game 2. Let's get this one in, shall we? Now, when it came to the offense was looking pretty good in the early going. Second inning, Seti with I'm going to say a triple. They ruled it as a double. It was off the wall, but they ruled it a double because they said Friedel out in center field had a fielding error. He bobbled it out there. I think that's debatable. I guess that's okay. He still got an extra base hit out of it, so I'll take it. But he got on. He was at third base. And then Romy with the sac fly. That made it 1-0. Let's roll over to the 6th inning there. In between, you had a couple of opportunities. But 6th inning, Trevor Story with the base, got the base hit. And then Willard Abrau staying red hot with his 17th home run of the year. That made it 3-0. And you're feeling pretty good at this point, right? Right, the bullpen, good bullpen game. Well, for the most part, we'll get to the bad part of the bullpen here in just a little bit. But Bernardino, Alcala, they went 3 innings combined. Didn't give up a run. But Chris Murphy, very solid. 2 2/3, 1 hit allowed, 2 strikeouts. Very solid. Hey, I would like to see more of him. Just came back from Tommy John not too long ago. Nice to see that he's contributing here in the early going. But here comes Greg Weisser for the 7th. You all know how I feel about Greg Weisser, right? I said this in the early, part of the year, right? When we started seeing Weisser, even go back to last year, there were moments where he looked amazing, but then there were other times where it was like, what the heck happened to that guy? This Greg Weisser was off the charts, and now this Greg Weisser is giving up home runs left and right, and couldn't hold leads. That's how I've always felt with Weisser. He's a very streaky reliever. And early part of the year, you were seeing those inconsistencies. But then he went on a bit of a roll there where he was looking very good. The trust meter went up with him. And then over the last few weeks or so, last couple of weeks, right, he started earning that trust a lot, and he was getting turned to a lot. And you're really starting to see him wear down here over the last couple of weeks. In his last 5 outings coming into tonight, he had a couple of outings there on the West Coast trip where he gave up a couple of runs there. He went 4 innings combined over his last 5 outings coming into today. 4 innings combined, 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned. Had a walk in there as well. And I'm thinking to myself when he's coming out, I'm like, man, we're really going to him again. Garrett Whitlock, the last time he pitched was a few days ago against Toronto. Jordan Hicks, he looked good the other night. So I'm thinking, like, where is one of these guys, right? I thought, getting Hicks into the mix, that can maybe get Weisser, a bit of an extended breather. All right, they went with him. And my bad gut, the bad gut feeling, ended up being proven true. He was leaving stuff all over the plate. Base hit to Stevenson. Hines reached base. He walked Lux. And I'm thinking at that point, why is he still in this game? First 3 guys get on. And I'm like, I get it. He's wiggled out of some stuff before, but this one I just didn't feel good about. And then there was the grand slam to Christian Encarnacion Strand. That made it 4-3. And you're just thinking, like, at that point, it just felt like the first 2 games where you looked so good. It just felt like it all went out the window. I don't know why I just felt that. It was like just one swing of the bat just completely changed everything. And I'm thinking at that point, I'm like, all right, you got to take him out here. Like, the guy doesn't have it. And he's still in the game. TJ Friedel with a double. Matt McClain, sharp line drive. said he bailed him out with a nice catch. And I'm thinking, why is he still in this game? Ellie De La Cruz, base hit, 5-3. Why is he still in the game? Like, I'm thinking, like, this is like almost like, it's not the same thing, but it's bringing back PTSD a little bit with Pedro and Grady Little. Like, why is he still in the game? And then finally, Jordan Hicks comes in the game. And I'm thinking, like, this is crazy. Like, what is happening? I'm sorry, but Cora, like, what is going on there? Why did it take so long to do that? Especially when a guy like Weisser, he's been going just so many outings here this past month. I just didn't understand that. I didn't get it. Oh, but here we go. Let's go a little further, shall we? The game is still, you can still mount a bit of a comeback here, and I thought that's what the Red Sox were doing. 8th inning, Marcelo Meyer, ground rule double. Romy Gonzalez, man. Listen, I've liked Romy this year. There's been a lot of good things with him this year. He's been very solid. He's manned first base very well. But there have been a couple of moments along the way where you're like, man, what is happening here? And that just happened here. Romy, double off the monster. No outs. Scored Marcelo Meyer. You're thinking, all right, sweet. Meyer scored, 5-4 game, runner on second. And then you look back at the TV and you're going, why are you going to third? And before you could even finish the sentence, he's thrown out at third. Why? Like, hold on. Like, I can't even talk. Why is that happening? I can't even think of a good argument for it. Like, I can't even think, is that even a mental mistake? I understand, right? It took if you go look at back at the replay, off the monster, it took a crazy bounce, went over the fielder's head. But still, is that, like, here's my thinking behind that. You play baseball your whole life, and you still can't think to just stop at second base, even though it took a crazy bounce. And I get it. Romy's a pretty athletic guy. He's confident. I get that. But is that a Romy call, or is that a philosophical call? Is that something that they have just been ingrained with to just be over-aggressive? Like, I get being aggressive in some moments. And if he makes it safe, you're thinking, oh, man, heads up play. Great. But there's no outs. You have so many more opportunities after this. And I get it. The Red Sox, they have had their issues with situational hitting, right? But you have to stay at second base. You cannot go to third there at all. That's where I'm thinking, like, where's this coming from? Where is the thinking there? Is that Romy just being Romy? Or is that something where when they're going over base running, in spring training, is that something in, clubhouse, pregame meetings and whatnot? Are they talking about this? Like, go take the extra bag? In that moment, I'm sorry. You got to stay at second base. I don't know where that came. Where is that coming from? Again, is that a player call, or is that, was that a third base coach call? Who? It blows my mind. I sound ridiculous right now, but that's just because it blows my mind that you couldn't just stay at second base. I don't think anyone would have gotten mad if you just didn't go to third. I don't think anyone would have even thought that. I don't know, man. Reds, they get a couple more. Jordan Hicks, he was in for the next inning. He gave up a couple more there. He was able to wiggle out of it the inning prior after Weisser, but he started getting hit here. To me, Hicks, bring him in for a fresh inning. I feel like he's probably fine, right? I don't know. That's just me. It is what it is, but it's so frustrating, ladies and gentlemen. Time and time again, this team just continues to mess up, whether that's defensively, base running, constantly leaving runners in scoring position. And this is where I just wonder with the Red Sox. I think somewhere along the way, the Red Sox, they got stuck in this cycle of caring too much about all the analytics, exit velo, stuff like that, athleticism. I just think somewhere along the way, we've seen this time and time again. We've seen this constantly, where this team just seems to lack the fundamentals, when especially in high leverage situations and in late in games. They just seem to, I'm not going to sit here and say, someone lacks an IQ or lacks a baseball IQ, because guarantee my baseball IQ doesn't even match any of those at all, comes close to any of those players. But there just comes a time where you have to ask yourself, like, why does this keep happening? And I just feel like somewhere along the way, the Red Sox have just really bought in to all the drive line stuff, focusing so much on exit velo, focusing less on plate discipline, focusing on trying to be the most athletic guys out there. All the little things, it feels like, gets left behind. I don't know. It's just so weird to me. And I pulled up some numbers here. When it comes to the offense, they're 10th in WRC+. That's very good. You're a top 10 offense overall. They're first in exit velo. They hit the crap out of the ball. But they have the third highest K rate, and they rank 13th in walk percentage. And like I've said a million times, they rank number 1 overall when it comes to swings. So they like to swing, and they like to swing hard. But in the process, your plate discipline is not very good. Looking at the base running. They rank 12th overall in base running, right? That's base running runs scored, right, on Fangraphs. Not just runs scored, but runs that you scored because of base running, right? Taking extra bases, stealing bases, right? Runs that come from that. But when it comes to expected base running, they rank 17th overall. So that means that, they're making a lot of mistakes on the base paths. They're getting into outs a lot. Defense, they're 10th in defensive runs saved. So you could say that's where they're good at making difficult plays, right? They're able to make outs from plays that are just hard to pull off, right? Fielders getting to balls that maybe they shouldn't be getting to, right? Just making good athletic plays, not just with your legs, but with your arm as well. Saving runs by throwing guys out, right? 10th in defensive runs saved. But they're 19th overall in outs above average. They have the most errors in Major League Baseball. The infield ranks 28th in infield outs above average. They're 15th in good fielding runs saved. That's GFRS on Fangraphs. That includes scoops at first base, cutting off throws, relay throws, diving stops. 15th, middle of the road. But you see time and time again where, sure, they can make some really good plays, especially Cedon out in center field. You'll see some good diving stops in the infield. You'll see Willier throwing out some guys. Yeah, you'll see those kind of plays, but when it comes to the routine play, balls that should be caught, grounders that should be fielded, those so many times. And Trevor Story, he booted one there. Actually, I think I glossed over that part late in the game. That's where the Reds got a couple of more runs, right? You had Trevor Story had a bit of a tough hop there. They had the infield in, so that didn't help him, but it was a bad hop. Runner scored, and then Marcelo Meyer, he threw it over to third base, and I think he forgot that the runner was coming home, so he threw it to third. Then Toro tries to throw it home, and the runner was safe, but then Friedel ended up moving up to second base, who was the one who initially hit the ball. So it's like the ball's going everywhere. And so it's like I don't know. It seemed like just no one knew what the heck was going on. So Marcelo Meyer, I love him in the field, but there's been a couple of like growing pain kind of moments with him. And getting back to the defense, right? Overall, we saw this a little while ago. Jiren Durant dropping a ball in Milwaukee, Romy in San Francisco, David Hamilton the night before making a bad error there. Remember the White Sox game a little while back in April or whatever it was, right? They had 5 errors on the night. So many times. Bad base running decisions. Let's get back to that. Like I said, when it came to base running runs above average, they're negative 0.8, which ranks 17th. Cedon, go back to that in Milwaukee. Remember when he was running to third? He had his head down the whole time. Listen, Cedon has been great, but that was one example. Jiren Durant in Anaheim, running the third base when there was a ground ball right in front of him. Should have stayed at second base there. There was no force runner behind him. And in that same play, Toro getting thrown out at second base when he was out by a mile. And for some reason, Cora came out to argue, saying that Luis Rengifo had his knee down in front of the bag when it didn't even matter because he was going to be out by like 300 feet. So it's like, you see so many things with this team. It drives me insane. Everyone on Nesson, if you do want to watch the rest of this, we are out of time here on Nesson, unfortunately. But if you want to watch the rest, come on over to YouTube, come to Monster Territory, and you can catch the end of the show. We are going to be talking about the National Series and the Jim Bowden trade deadline article that he posted today. So everybody on Nesson, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. So, just very frustrating. I could sit here and, complain and rant. I just hope the AllStar break, that's going to be a nice break for the players, coaching staff. Hopefully everyone can kind of just decompress a little bit. Maybe that will be the best thing for this team, right? To finally get themselves on a run. You could look at this, the way things have gone here. Obviously, we're not at the AllStar break yet. We still got a little bit. But I think in the end, hopefully that ends up being a positive break. And, get a few days to relax a little bit. People can see their family, get away. Maybe that's kind of where hopefully they can figure something out here, whether that's a different message when it comes from the coaching staff, something. Because at some point, yes, I understand the players got to play, but it's the urgency. That's kind of where I'm at, where, again, I'm not expecting a perfect game every single time, but when you're making the common mistakes all the time, that's kind of where it's like, okay, is it the players? Which, yes, it is, but is there also maybe the wrong message being sent? Where is everyone's heads in the game? That's kind of where I'm at. Let's go to Washington really quick. I got the 4th of July this week. 4th of July. So that'll be nice. I mean, we do have a game on 4th of July. It is an early game. Got a day off tomorrow. That'll be nice too. But Lucas Giolito facing the team that drafted him. Giolito's been solid lately. He'll be getting game 1. That'll be 11:05 Eastern time. So that'll be nice to get an early game out of the way. Walker Buehler is slated for game 2 against the Nationals. I said it last time. Walker Buehler. I thought, okay, is he pitching for his job here? Well, I guess he's still fine. This Nationals team, they haven't been very good this year. If the Nationals pound him, you have got to think that his job is really at stake. His numbers are terrible this year. ERA at 6.45, FIP in the 5s. Buehler has not been effective at all. And then you get Garrett Crochet for game 3 on Sunday at 1:35. I really want Giolito or Buehler to pick up a win. You know, if you win 2 out of 3, okay, whatever. I mean, you should be sweeping this series. It's the Nationals. They're 14 games under 500. There's no excuse for this one. Yes, series win. Sweeps are luxuries. But listen, I really don't want to have to go into game 3 and Crochet is playing stopper. I really don't want that. For crying out loud. I'd love to see a situation where you win the first 2 and then Crochet's in there for the sweep. That would be nice. Mason, I agree with you. Don't sleep on the Nationals, right? The Nationals, man, got James Wood, obviously. They got some talent here in Washington, right? There are a few things. Let me actually pull up here who is slated. Mackenzie Gore's had a great year. It looks like they are going to be missing. Mackenzie Gore is actually pitching tonight. That's a good matchup in Detroit tonight. Mackenzie Gore, or in Detroit tonight, sorry. Mackenzie Gore and Jack Flaherty. That's a pretty decent pitching matchup. But they're going to be getting Michael Soroka, Mitchell Parker, and Cade Cavalli. Now, Soroka, the advanced metrics look better with him. He's got a decent strikeout to walk ratio. Mitchell Parker, he did pitch pretty well last year. Now, Soroka, ERA at a 4.70. FIP is better at a 4.33. Now, Soroka, he's got 9.7 strikeouts per 9, 2.2 walks per 9. That's very good. He's been prone to the home run ball, though. The Red Sox, they like to swing out of their shoes. Maybe that'll be a good matchup. Mitchell Parker, not great. ERA and the FIP right there in the mid-4s. Doesn't strike out a whole lot of guys. He doesn't walk a ton of guys, but it's 3.5 walks per 9. So that's about league average. And about a home run per 9. So a guy that's going to pitch more to contact. Let's see if the Red Sox can figure him out. And then Cade Cavalli. It looks like this could be his major league. No, not major league debut. He made his major league debut back in 2022, but his first major league appearance since then, I believe he ended up getting Tommy John. I can't remember if it was Tommy John or if it was a shoulder thing. It actually might have been a shoulder thing. I can't fully remember. Remind me in the chat, everybody. Let me know if it was a shoulder thing or a Tommy John. I can't remember. But so far in the minor leagues, right, he was a higher draft pick. Back in 2020, he was the 22nd overall pick. In the minor leagues so far this year, 12 starts, ERA at 4.32. Decent amount of strikeouts, but if he is going to be the starter for that game, then that's something the Red Sox got to jump all over. Rookie starter, Crochet on the mound. This should be a series that you sweep. Soroka, I think you should be able to get in something against him. He's been prone to the home run ball. Mitchell Parker, I think, Mitchell Parker in his last start against the Angels, 3 runs, 6 hits, 3 walks, only 3 Ks in 5 innings against the Angels. To me, that is a game that you should be able to win, and if Walker Buehler can step up and get himself right, you have a chance to win that game. This is a series that you should be able to sweep. Absolutely, in my opinion. We will see. But before I do get to the Jim Bowden preview, or not the preview, predictions article that, not predictions. It was more, I'll show you in a second, right? He was kind of more, he was taking a poll about players and whatnot. I'll get into the article here in just a second, but we do have one more sponsor. I'll be right back. Never bet on baseball before? Well, it's easy. Pick a guy to go yard, hammer some live odds mid-game, or just ride your squad and hope for the best. No spreadsheets, just vibes and dingers. Now, here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Alrighty, let's get to the Jim Bowden article here. So, not exactly Jim Bowden's predictions, but he was talking to MLB executives about their predictions. Now, Jim Bowden, me and Jim, we go back a few years. Well, not necessarily me and him, but I've had quite some fun talking about his trade proposals and trade ideas and everything over the last few years. Spoiler alert, they're usually not very good. But Jim Bowden, I still respect the man because obviously he did work in Major League Baseball. Obviously, he's still not working in Major League Baseball. He definitely had, he had his ups and downs. Let's just say that. But now, when it came to this article, he was talking to a bunch of different executives. He says here that he surveyed more than 40 executives, mostly presidents of baseball operations and general managers, and ask them to name the best starting pitcher, reliever, and position player they think will be traded. So let's dive into this, shall we? We won't spend too long on this. I think I might actually do a separate video on this on the main channel, giving my reactions to it, but I'll kind of dive through it. But I want to look at some of the guys that he mentioned. I want to look at the times where he mentioned the Red Sox. So, it says here, an American League general manager told me we're all waiting for teams to decide if they're going to sell, but it might take until close to the deadline for teams like the Diamondbacks, Orioles, Red Sox, Guardians, and the Angels to make that call. Now, I've told you all pretty much how I think this is going to go for the Red Sox. I still got to do my trade deadline video that I'm going to do here for Monster Territory, kind of diving into players that I would love to see the Red Sox go for and just what I think the Red Sox need to do. The video that I did today on the main channel, I did dive into that. So go check that out. But I'll do another one here more specifically for the Red Sox, of course. So, yeah, I do think the Red Sox, I think they probably like to see where they're at closer to the deadline. But I think they have a pretty good idea of what they want to do at this point. We all know what this team is, right? There's a lot of talent on this team, but they just lack, I think, at least consistently, the fundamentals to be really one of these top-tier teams, right? Like the Detroit Tigers, the Dodgers. They play great baseball, right? So, but in the end, I do think the Red Sox, they're probably going to do a bit of a mix, buying and selling. So, let's go to the next part that he mentioned here with the Red Sox. So, he has Aroldis Chapman at number 1. He says here, the executives overwhelmingly picked Chapman as the reliever most likely to be traded. Now, I could see this going a couple of different ways. I see the advantage of keeping Chapman because obviously he's very good. He's one of the best closers in all of baseball. The guy is right now as automatic of a shutdown inning that you could get out there. He's been great. It's been a perfect fit. To me, unless you're able to bring someone else in that could at least make up the most part of his production, which is still asking a lot, then I don't see really a reason to trade him. Again, unless you're able to fill another role in the bullpen, or whether that's at the back end of the bullpen as one of the closers or, like a solid middle relief or setup man. Then I guess you could go, with either Jordan Hicks, Garrett Whitlock. Probably not the best time to mention Greg Weisser right now, but I wonder if you could do some kind of a combination of those guys. Andrew Bailey has talked in the past saying that he doesn't necessarily think you got to have a closer. I disagree. I think you need to have a closer. I like roles in the bullpen. So that's why I want to keep Chapman. because you know when he comes into the game, you're most likely winning that game. So, again, unless you're able to get a really talented arm in return, somehow, some way, whether that's, same trade or different trade, probably more likely it would be a different trade, right? But Chapman, but then again, you could look at it from the point of view where if you can trade him and, teams, they're willing to overpay to get themselves a reliever to help them win a championship. You just saw it with Chapman and the Rangers a couple of years ago. Look what the Royals got in return for Chapman. They got Cole Reagans. Ended up being one of the best pitchers in baseball last year. Dealing with a bit of a shoulder issue right now, but Cole Reagans, he's one of the top arms in baseball. So I think if you have a situation where you could land someone of that caliber, then I'm willing to listen. But you're going to have to fill the bullpen either at the back end or at least a solid arm in middle relief that can kind of push everyone up. So I'd like to keep him, but I'd be willing to see what you could get in return. Moving on, he mentions Josh Naylor. Says here, several teams, including the Mariners, Rangers, Giants, Reds, and the Red Sox, need a power bat like Naylor. Here's where I like Josh Naylor. I like Josh Naylor. He doesn't mention anything about his strikeouts or his walks. Naylor is very disciplined, and he's not going to strike out a lot. That's what I think the Red Sox need, and that's why I'm excited for Masataka Yoshida to come back, and Bregman too. I'm very excited for those guys to get back in the lineup. Also, Yoshida was taking grounders at first base today. That's interesting. They said it's more of an emergency. The only reason he's doing that, just in case it's for an emergency down the road. It's still very interesting that the Red Sox, they just don't seem fully set on what they have at first base. That's why I feel like Josh Naylor could be a possibility. A really solid bat that you can put in the middle of the order. He's not going to strike out. I'd be all over Josh Naylor if he could be had. Moving on. Then he gets to Jiren Durant. He is listed as the number 6 position player trade candidate. He says here, I was surprised by how many front office executives mentioned Durant. It makes me think the Red Sox may have decided Willard Abrau will play right field and Roman Anthony will play left going forward. Durant's under team control through 2028. He led the majors in doubles and triples last year with 21 homers, 75 RBIs, and 34 stolen bases. Man, what a year for Durant. This year, he's slashing .253 with a .723 OPS, 20 doubles, and a league-leading 9 triples. He's been linked to the Padres and Phillies in trade talks. He's also been linked to the Braves. I was told personally by a little birdie out there that I trust very much that has given me a couple of scoops over the last couple of years that ended up becoming true. I trust him, and he told me that the Red Sox and Braves have at least had conversations about Jiren Durant. So now, whether or not that's going to get anywhere, I mean, the Braves have Jerickson Profar, who's back now. Let's see how he does, right? Alex Verdugo, Red Sox legend, DFA'd, by the way. But yeah, the Padres, they're still linked. I see the fit there. I think the Padres, they're going to have to find a third team. Unless maybe you do something with like Ethan Salas. Maybe the Red Sox see some upside with him. His defense is off the charts. He's so young. I don't even think he's 20 years old yet. If he is, he just turned 20. But defense is off the charts with him. He's going to be very good in that department. No complaints there at all. No doubts. But it's the bat that's been bad, and he's had a back injury this year. But the Red Sox, they've been very good at developing position players, especially when it comes to the offense. So maybe that could be a better home for him. Maybe you could do something with Salas. I don't think you're going to get Leo DeVries. He's one of the top prospects in baseball. He's number 3 overall on Pipeline. I don't think you're going to be able to get him, but maybe you could do something with Salas. I could see that. Or the Padres get a third team involved. If you did the Phillies, well, the Phillies, they could probably get a deal done straight up if they wanted to, right? People have mentioned Mick Abel. That could be a young arm for the Red Sox to get, possibly. They got some other guys like Aiden Miller, Justin Crawford. I'll be honest with you. If the Red Sox were able to get Aiden Miller, maybe put Mick Abel in there, maybe someone else, think that could be pretty good. I've seen people talk about the idea of maybe you get Ranger Suarez, as part of a package where you get him for this year. I guess I'd be all right with that. But to me, if you could get a right-handed bat like Aiden Miller, I think that could be pretty good. All right, but Jiren Durant, like I said, leave open the possibility for the Braves. If they wanted to go that route, sure, Profar's back, but maybe the Braves, they can move Ozuna in a separate deal. He's a rental. He's going to be a free agent. So maybe you could do something where Profar, they could bring Durant in. Profar can go to DH. Durant can be your left fielder, something like that. Or you do some kind of a rotation where Acuna, he can be DH sometimes, however you do it, right? I think there could be a fit there with the Braves, but I think they would have to get another team involved. I don't think they have the trade assets to really get it done. So, but Jiren Durant, the more I think about it and the more I just look at the possibilities out there, I think he is going to get moved. That's just kind of where I'm at right now. I would be surprised if he ended up staying. Sure, there could be an injury along the way, and, that could end up kind of solving that pretty much. But I'm starting to think he's going to get moved. And, with how well Willier's been playing, I think he's just making that argument so much stronger now to stay. I was thinking Willier could have been the better trade candidate because I saw more upside and he has more years of control. He's good defensively in right field. So I thought, okay, maybe teams would want Willier more. There'd be more of a market for him. And then Durant, he offers that skill set that's hard to replicate. But, I'm starting to lean towards Durant because I think teams, because the numbers are a bit down with him, the expected numbers from last year are kind of matching what he's doing this year. I think teams, you probably won't have to give up as much for Durant than you would Willier. It's kind of the way I see it. I'll also leave the Royals open for a possible team. They got some pitching there. Maybe you could do something. Maybe. They could do some offense. So we will see. But I do think Durant, I am leaning towards like 70-30 at this point that he ends up getting moved. Then he lists Willard Abrau. Says here, Abreu was mentioned because some teams would prefer him over Durant in a trade due to his elite defense. This is where I'm thinking with Bowden. It's like, yes, he has elite defense, but he has more power upside as well. And teams value that. So it's not just the defense. And he has another year of control. However, I get the impression Boston's preference is to trade Durant over him unless the return for Abreu is much better. That's what I'm saying. I think Abreu, he could bring back more. So that's where I'll still leave open the possibility there. He mentions Alex Bregman at number 13. He said here, this was another shocking name, but some executives believe the Red Sox could move on from Bregman at the deadline if they can't extend him by then. I highly doubt the Red Sox are going to trade Bregman. I think they're going to try and get an extension worked out the entire year. I just don't buy that. That, to me, that sounds like Scott Boras maybe putting some stuff out there, right? Telling teams, I don't know if they're going to get an extension done. That to me, that sounds like agent kind of talk to me. It makes so much sense for the Red Sox to get a deal worked out with Bregman. He could be the new face of the franchise. He fits Boston perfectly. The city of Boston and Fenway Park. He's been great in the clubhouse, great with the young guys. He's an organizational face of the franchise that you want. The Red Sox should get that done. But I think this is more Scott Boras trying to put some pressure out there. Maybe, putting some pressure on the Red Sox a little bit, right? Oh, yeah, hey, I don't know. Not sure about the Red Sox getting an extension done. I don't know. They might have to trade him. That's me. It's like, no, I think the Red Sox would rather sign him. That's what I think. But if the two sides can't work out a deal, don't be surprised if Boston trades him to either the Tigers or the Mariners. This is where, I don't think the Mariners are going to trade for Alex Bregman. The Mariners don't want to spend money. The Tigers, sure. I mean, they were really going after Bregman in the offseason. But goodness gracious, could you imagine the Red Sox doing this? This would be waving the white flag. I think this would be so irresponsible to trade him. To me, I think if you're the Red Sox, the best thing to do, because here's the thing. With Bregman, because he's making so much money, when it comes to his surplus value, because teams are going to have to pay a lot of his contract, the Red Sox wouldn't pay the rest of his contract. The team would have to take on the rest of it for this year. He would opt out after this season, but because the surplus value is not very high, because yes, I think he's going to end up having a good second half, but he's making so much money. So there's not much of a difference there, right? The amount of money that he's making, it's almost matching up to what he's going to produce in the second half. So yeah, I think what is honestly the more realistic suggestion for this is the Red Sox keep him no matter what the situation is, try and get an extension worked out, and if he ends up opting out of his deal, well, then you just throw the qualifying offer at him, and if he ends up going elsewhere, then you just get a draft pick in return. If you still can't re-sign him. That's what I think the Red Sox are going to end up doing. I don't think they're going to trade him. I think that's silly. I think that doesn't make sense. I think it's people out there trying to put, agents trying to put, like Scott Boras, trying to put pressure on, other teams trying to just spark stuff a little bit. People, guys in front offices and whatnot, they'll just put stuff out there to try and get the ball rolling on things, right? To try and get phone calls being made. I don't see this happening at all. Absolutely not. And that was pretty much it. That was it for the Red Sox here. Those are the players that I just wanted to go over. To me, I think the players that make the most sense for the Red Sox to go after that he does talk about here, Josh Naylor, I think that would make sense. I'd be okay with Ryan O'Hearn. But I also think the Red Sox need to go after, we've talked about this, they need to go after a starting pitcher. And the starting pitchers that he mentioned here were Sandy Alcantara. Sandy has been pitching better as of late. Looks like he's finally turned a corner. But do the Red Sox want to bring on another guy who has had Tommy John? I don't know about that. Like, something feels off about that one with me, so I'm going to say no. Mitch Keller, I think, is interesting because that's another team for Jiren Durant that I could maybe see being interested in Durant. The Pirates. The Pirates need offense badly. Could you do something with them with Mitch Keller? Possibly. He does mention the Cubs and the Mets. Then he gets to Merrill Kelly. I think Merrill Kelly would actually be a pretty solid rental for the Red Sox. Now, he mentions that Merrill Kelly, he grew up in Arizona. He wants to finish his career as a Diamondback. He could just get traded and then sign back with the Diamondbacks in the offseason. If that's what it is. But if the Red Sox could get him as a rental, and then Bregman's back at third base, Myers at second base, well, the infield should be better at that point. Merrill Kelly gets a good amount of ground balls. So I think that could be a pretty good fit. He goes on with Andrew Heaney, Zach Eflin, Zach Gallen, Edward Cabrera. Edward Cabrera I thought about because he's a controlled arm. He's got a lot of years left until he hits free agency. So, I wonder, but he does put here the Marlins are not looking to move him, but if they can win a trade, they'd have to consider it. I can see the Marlins wanting to hang on to him because he's, if he can come into his own as, like the ace of the staff, and who knows, maybe the Marlins somehow figure it out over the next couple of years, and then Cabrera could be the ace of your rotation. But I think with Cabrera, he's always hurt. He's had inconsistencies. He has figured it out this year. He's looked a lot better. But you just wonder, injury risk, would it be better for the Marlins to trade him now and then start just really going with the young guys in the organization, right? Thomas White, Robbie Snelling. That's kind of where I'm at on that. So I wonder if the Red Sox would be interested in Cabrera because he's a young arm. But then again, I don't know what the Marlins would really want. I think the Red Sox would rather trade for a young starter. Well, unless, I take that back. Maybe with the Marlins, right, James Tibbs, you just got him back in the Raffy trade. Could you maybe do something like that, like Tibbs and someone else, a couple other prospects for Cabrera? Something like that possibly. But I could see a team that's really looking for some like major league ready bats like Duran. That's where I kind of would like for the Red Sox to go to see if you can get some pitching back in a deal like that, right? Kill two birds with one stone, create outfield space by trading Durant or Willard and then getting something back for the rotation. I would like for that to be, keep it simple. But if you got to go a couple of different routes, maybe someone like Cabrera. But even then, I don't even know if Cabrera is really the guy that I would like for the Red Sox to get, because I want someone more proven, someone that is going to provide that stability in the rotation. It's kind of where I'm at. Everybody, I'm going to wrap it up right there. Disappointing end to the series here tonight. You still got a series W, but we really got to start seeing these mistakes getting cleaned up. Got the day off tomorrow. Go enjoy it. Go have a nice day off. And we'll be back here for the 4th of July, everybody. Go enjoy the rest of your night, everybody. Thank you to everyone in the chat for coming out. If you can on the way out, hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll talk to you next time.